18 years after his death, Carlo Acutis' body remained intact and in excellent condition. Some call it a miracle, while others believe that special techniques were used, but the reality could be different. Join us because we will finally reveal the truth. Pope Francis officially declared Carlo Acutis blessed on October 10, 2020, and now it has been announced that he will be canonized. Let's take a brief tour for those who don't know his story. But first, write Amen in the comments of this video and ask for Carlo Acutis' intercession. Carlo Acutis was born on May 3, 1990, the son of Italians Andrea Acutis and Antonia Salzano. Shortly after his birth, the family moved to Milan, where Carlo spent most of his life. From an early age, he showed a deep devotion to the Virgin Mary, frequently reciting the Rosary as a sign of his love for her. He attended Mass regularly and received communion regularly. He often spent time in reflection before the tabernacle, either before or after religious services. His dedication to the faith was also reflected in his custom of going to confession weekly. In addition to his spiritual life, Carlo had a great passion for computers and technology. He studied in Milan and was inspired by several saints, including Saint Aloysius Gonzaga, Saint Tarcisius, and above all, Saint Francis of Assisi, whom he saw as a role model. Indeed, Carlo loved visiting Assisi, feeling deeply connected to that city. Despite his devotion, Carlo's life changed dramatically when, in his early teens, he was diagnosed with leukemia. In the face of this adversity, Carlo demonstrated exceptional faith and fortitude. Rather than being discouraged by his illness, he offered his sufferings to the Lord, the Pope, and the Church, saying, "I offer all the suffering I will have for the Lord, for the Pope, and for the Church." His acceptance of the cross was a moving testimony to those who knew him. Carlo's passion for computing led him to develop a unique website where he cataloged in detail each documented Eucharistic miracle. He began this project at the age of 14 and completed it in 2005, shortly before his death. Through this platform, Carlo wanted to evangelize and share his faith, taking advantage of the potential of the internet. One of his most memorable quotes on the site was, "When we receive the Eucharist, we become more like Jesus. So on earth, we have a foretaste of heaven." Despite the ever-increasing challenges of leukemia, Carlo never complained about the pain and suffering the disease caused him. When asked about his difficulties, he responded humbly, mentioning that other people had suffered much more than he had. On October 12, 2006, on the day of Our Lady of Aparecida, Carlo Acutis died due to complications resulting from leukemia. As he had wished in life, he was buried in Assisi, the city of his beloved Saint Francis. However, his story did not end with his departure. Shortly after his death, people from all over the world began to venerate him and follow his example. 4 years later, on October 12, 2010, a miracle occurred in Brazil attributed to his intercession. A local priest who was promoting Carlo's cause for beatification in that country received a relic containing a part of his body and his clothing. A grandmother, whose grandson was suffering from severe pancreatic problems, asked Carlo's intercession for his healing. With great faith, she prayed for his help. Soon after, the boy began to eat and drink normally, something he had been unable to do before. This extraordinary event was just one of the many miracles attributed to Carlo Acutis. The evidence of these miracles led the Brazilian Episcopal Conference to request the initiation of his canonization process. At a meeting in 2013, a thorough investigation was launched to examine the miracles attributed to Carlo, a process that was concluded in 2016. Later, in 2018, Pope Francis recognized his heroic virtues and declared him venerable, marking a significant step on his path to canonization. On January 23, 2019, Carlo's body was exhumed, having been treated with special preservation techniques. It was transferred to a church in Assisi, where it would remain until his beatification. On October 1, 2020, his body was exposed to the veneration of the faithful, displaying a state that seemed miraculously incorrupt. However, it is important to clarify the truth behind this apparent incorruptibility. According to a statement from the Diocese of Assisi, when Carlo's body was exhumed from the cemetery, it was in a normal state of decomposition, in accordance with the conditions of his burial. Despite 13 years having passed since his death, the body showed signs of decomposition. Some parts retained their anatomical form and several organs were partially preserved. To prepare Carlo's body for public display, preservation techniques used by the Church to present the remains of blessed and saintly people in a dignified manner were employed. This process was carried out with great care and respect. Carlo's body was restored with the help of a silicone mask and specialized techniques, which allowed the precious relic to be preserved for veneration during the beatification ceremony. His example of faith, his love for the Eucharist, and his use of technology to spread the gospel have made him the patron saint of the Internet. Carlo Acutis' life shows that even young people can reach high levels of holiness. His deep devotion, his courage in the face of illness, and his desire to use his talents for good inspire people of all ages. Carlo reminds us that we are all called to live a life of holiness, regardless of the circumstances we face. As we prepare to celebrate her canonization, we reflect on her powerful message. We are all born as originals, but many die as copies. These words urge us to live authentically, embrace our uniqueness, and use the talents God has given us to make a difference in the world. Carlo has shown that age is no impediment when it comes to leading a life of faith and service. However, it is essential to remember that the story of Carlo Acutis also invites us to rediscover the beauty and power of the Eucharist. Let us take a few moments together to ask for his intercession in the comments, concluding with an Amen. The life of Carlo Acutis is clear evidence that holiness is not exclusive to a few, but a calling for all. It does not matter if we are young, old, or sick. We can all leave a mark on the world if we live with faith, courage, and love. As we reflect on his life, ask yourself, how can we follow his example and aspire to holiness in our daily lives? May the memory of Carlo Acutis be an opportunity for grace and renewal for the Church and the entire world. Don't forget to comment Amen below this video and make your request for intercession to Carlo Acutis. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. May God bless you.